Marcus Aurelius and Niccolò Machiavelli seated across from each other inside a vast Roman Senate chamber during a violent thunderstorm. Slow visible breathing, subtle chest movement, realistic blinking, ancient marble columns towering overhead, flickering oil lamps casting long shadows across the polished stone floor. Philosophical tension filling the atmosphere. Marcus Aurelius calm and disciplined in weathered imperial white robes with subtle gold embroidery. Machiavelli sharp-eyed and analytical in dark Renaissance garments. Both men locked in a timeless debate about morality, survival, leadership, and human nature. Cinematic realism. Dramatic chiaroscuro lighting. Rain streaking through distant arches. Ultra-detailed facial expressions. Emotionally charged atmosphere. Historical realism blended with philosophical symbolism. Realistic idle movement. Atmospheric cinematic realism. 35mm cinematic film texture. Volumetric lighting. Epic composition. Niccolò Machiavelli standing confidently between a massive lion and a cunning fox inside a Renaissance political court. Slow breathing animation. Subtle shoulder movement. Realistic blinking. Golden candlelight illuminating intricate tapestries and polished marble floors. Noblemen whispering in the shadows. Tension and manipulation hidden behind elegant appearances. Machiavelli wearing dark velvet robes with subtle crimson accents, intelligent calculating eyes studying everyone around him. Cinematic Renaissance atmosphere, hyper-detailed textures, deep shadows, rich red and gold color palette. Philosophical. Symbolism about strategy and adaptability. Epic realism, dramatic composition, realistic human emotion, cloth simulation, atmospheric movement. Marcus Aurelius alone inside a war tent on the edge of a frozen frontier during plague and endless conflict. Visible cold breath in the air, slow controlled breathing, writing personal reflections onto parchment while distant. Fires burn outside and exhausted Roman soldiers prepare for battle in the cold night. Rain striking the canvas walls, muted blue and gray tones dominating the environment. His face marked by grief, exhaustion, and determination. Stoic calm despite unbearable suffering. Subtle hand movement. Realistic blinking. Philosophical solitude. Cinematic realism. Detailed Roman military armor. Emotional storytelling. Soft firelight illuminating handwritten journals. Immersive atmosphere of resilience and discipline. A symbolic Roman emperor standing between justice and survival in a fractured empire. Emotional breathing visible through subtle body movement. One side of the scene consumed by flames and collapsing. Architecture while the other shows an innocent prisoner chained beneath cold torchlight. The emperor trapped between moral principle and political necessity. Emotional conflict visible in his expression. Dramatic cinematic shadows. Renaissance painting composition mixed with modern realism. Philosophical symbolism about power and sacrifice. Storm clouds gathering overhead. Ultra-detailed textures. Historical atmosphere filled with tension and uncertainty. Atmospheric motion and cinematic realism. Niccolò Machiavelli walking alone through dangerous Renaissance streets at midnight. Natural walking motion. Visible breathing in cold air. Realistic cloak movement in the wind. Narrow stone alleys lit only by flickering torches. Spies hidden in windows and rooftops watching every movement. Secret political conspiracies unfolding behind closed doors. Florence alive with tension and ambition. Machiavelli wrapped in a dark cloak moving carefully through the shadows, calculating expression revealing constant awareness of danger. Cinematic noir atmosphere. Rain-soaked cobblestone streets reflecting golden torchlight. Ultra-realistic architecture. Dark academia aesthetic. Suspenseful composition filled with paranoia and intelligence. Split-scene composition showing Marcus Aurelius meditating calmly in silence during war with slow, steady breathing. While Machiavelli studies political maps, military reports, and secret letters with restless, subtle movement surrounded by candlelight. Realistic blinking and idle motion. One side representing inner discipline and emotional control, while the other embodies strategic calculation and manipulation of external events. Contrast between stillness and tension, cinematic philosophical symbolism, ultra-realistic faces and textures, dramatic lighting, emotional depth, ancient Rome blended with Renaissance aesthetics, highly detailed storytelling environment, a Roman general secretly betraying the emperor during a tense gathering inside a torchlit palace hall. Nervous breathing and subtle body language. Hidden glances exchange between conspirators while loyal guards remain unaware. Marcus Aurelius maintaining calm emotional restraint despite recognizing disloyalty. A political strategist silently observing from the shadows, calculating the consequences. Psychological realism. Cinematic framing. Detailed Roman interiors decorated. With imperial banners and marble statues, tense atmosphere, realistic emotional conflict, dramatic warm lighting contrasted with darkness. Atmospheric realism, a Renaissance philosopher confronting the embodiment of fortune during a violent thunderstorm atop collapsing marble stairs. Heavy breathing, realistic movement in hair and clothing from powerful wind. A giant spinning wheel, of fate turning behind him while banners and papers fly through the storm. Symbolic representation of destiny, uncertainty, and political survival. Dynamic cinematic motion. Dramatic clouds and lightning illuminating the scene. Dark Renaissance. Allegory. Hyper-realistic oil painting style. Emotional tension between control and chaos. Epic scale and philosophical symbolism. Two legendary philosophers facing one another on a battlefield at sunset while entire armies stand frozen behind them, awaiting the outcome of ideas rather than violence. Visible breathing. Subtle movement. In armor and robes caused by the wind. Marcus Aurelius illuminated by warm golden light representing discipline and virtue, while Machiavelli stands within darker strategic shadows representing realism and survival. Broken weapons scattered across the field, banners moving naturally in the wind. Philosophical tension determining the fate of civilization. Cinematic masterpiece, emotional intensity, ultra-realistic historical detail, epic storytelling atmosphere. A weary Roman emperor sitting alone upon an imperial throne after years of plague, betrayal and war, slow, exhausted breathing, realistic blinking and emotional facial movement, ghostly visions of dead soldiers, lost children, and fallen friends, surrounding him like fading memories. Another philosopher observing silently from the darkness with analytical eyes. Tragic atmosphere of leadership and sacrifice, deep shadows and imperial golden light. Emotionally devastating cinematic realism, detailed Roman palace interiors, themes of isolation, responsibility, and mortality, atmospheric motion throughout, the environment. A philosophical confrontation inside a candlelit library where ancient scrolls and military maps cover massive wooden tables. Marcus Aurelius arguing that inner virtue matters more than victory while Machiavelli insists survival and stability justify difficult choices. Realistic breathing and expressive hand movement. Tension visible in every gesture and expression. Dust particles floating through warm light. Rich historical textures. Cinematic realism. Emotional intellectual conflict. Dramatic composition inspired by Renaissance master paintings. Subtle environmental motion. An aging emperor walking through a battlefield after victory. Visible heavy breathing. Wounded soldiers calling for help while funeral pyres burn beneath a dark evening sky. Marcus Aurelius burdened by responsibility. Rather than glory, emotional realism, cinematic war atmosphere, historically detailed Roman military camp, slow natural movement, somber color palette, philosophical reflection on the cost of power and leadership, ultra-realistic textures and expressions. Niccolò Machiavelli advising a nervous young ruler inside an ornate Renaissance palace. Realistic idle movement and subtle breathing. Maps of enemy territories spread across a massive table. Candlelight. Illuminating hidden anxiety in the prince's face. Machiavelli calm and composed while explaining the harsh realities of human nature and political survival. Dramatic Renaissance realism. Luxurious but tense atmosphere. Intricate costumes and architecture, symbolic mood of manipulation and strategy. A Roman emperor standing alone on a palace balcony overlooking a restless city at night. Slow, reflective breathing, distant fires and riots visible across the empire, stars hidden behind heavy storm. Clouds, Marcus Aurelius reflecting on whether justice alone can preserve civilization. Emotional isolation, cinematic lighting, highly detailed ancient Roman cityscape, philosophical atmosphere filled with uncertainty and responsibility, subtle environmental movement, realistic cinematic motion, a political strategist watching rival, nobles during a lavish banquet, subtle breathing and careful eye movement, smiles and celebrations hiding dangerous ambitions beneath the surface, hidden daggers, Coded glances and whispered conspiracies creating invisible tension. Machiavelli observing every movement with calculated awareness. Cinematic Renaissance realism. Luxurious textures, candlelit atmosphere. Dramatic psychological storytelling. Realistic crowd motion. Marcus Aurelius, comforting wounded soldiers after battle instead of celebrating victory. Kneeling beside exhausted men in mud and rain. Visible cold breath and emotional breathing. Empathy and discipline combined within his expression. Realistic Roman military setting. Emotional cinematic realism. Muted natural colors. Detailed armor and battlefield environment. Themes of humanity and duty during suffering. Atmospheric. Movement and realism. A symbolic visual representation of philosophy itself. Marcus Aurelius surrounded by calm geometric light and balanced architecture while Machiavelli stands within chaotic shadows filled with shifting masks, political symbols and fractured mirrors, slow breathing and subtle movement. Contrast between stable virtue and adaptive realism. Highly artistic cinematic composition, surreal philosophical atmosphere, ultra-detailed textures and lighting, realistic environmental motion. A final confrontation between Stoic discipline and political realism inside a ruined imperial hall after years of conflict. Shattered marble statues and burning banners surrounding both philosophers as they continue, debating the meaning of justice, power, sacrifice, and survival. Visible breathing, realistic facial movement, wind-moving robes and ash through the air, cinematic epic scale, emotional intensity, hyper-realistic historical detail, dark dramatic, atmosphere philosophical storytelling masterpiece.